Welcome to Cocktail Hour. I'm Andy.
And I'm the Rev.
Welcome to another episode of Cocktail Hour. Hello, Rev.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm lovely. I'm enjoying this chocolatini, and that is the drink that the show is revolving around today.
Chocolate martinis.
I know, very, very good. How do you like yours?
I love it. It is fantastic. I'm going to have to... it's nice because usually I drink my drinks quickly, but this one is definitely something that's enjoyable to sip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not kidding. I'm already kind of half in the bag. I didn't realize that we were down to the nubs on the orange vodka, and I'm using the Grey Goose, not the Stoli.
Mm-hmm.
And Grey Goose just, has a kick like no other vodka ever. And so I made equal parts. So I did 2 ounces of vodka and 2 ounces of, creme de cacao or de cocoa, whatever the hell it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm flying high now. You definitely don't want me singing.
No, let's not.
Yeah, thanks.
Not at least until I have a few more drinks.
Oh, you're just wrong.
I know. Well, and I didn't have any martini glasses, so when I went to the liquor store yesterday, they had some, swag glasses for 99 cents each from something called 3 Olives, which I don't give a shit. So now I have 3 Olives martini glasses, but one of them, I bought 2. One of them is curved. The stem is curved, so it already looks like it's drunk.
Sweet.
Yes, it was very cool. But I didn't use the curved one today because it was the alcohol was tipping out, so I decided not to.
Yeah, that's alcohol abuse.
Absolutely, I don't want to do that.
I actually bought, I don't think it was at Marshall's or Ross or somewhere, I was in there for something completely different, and, they always had those, clearance items that sit in the front. Mm-hmm. And they had a box of, I don't know, it was a set of 8 or something, stemless martini glasses for like $5.
Really?
Yeah.
Stemless?
Yeah, it's great.
So I want to see a picture. Send a picture, we'll put it on the site.
Okay. Will do. Of course, I'm not going to take a picture with a drink in it because, quite frankly, it looks like something in the bottom of the toilet bowl now because all the chocolate slid to the bottom.
Maybe the next time.
I can get you... I can get you a picture of one that's, clean and frosty out of the fridge.
That sounds great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, you said you had a couple of announcements that you wanted to share with the group, so have at it.
I do. Thank you. Okay, so one of the announcements is from Kim Protekel. I signed up to her Yahoo group, so if anybody's interested, you should look into that. She sent an announcement out saying that she and a friend of hers, who's an actor who is named Christian, I'm going to wing this here, Beving, Boebing. I don't do well with the B-O-E, with those O-E things.
Who are you kidding? You don't do any well with any names.
Yeah, but at least I can try and fake this.
Yeah, true.
Beving. I'm going to do it with confidence. Christian Beving.
I have another sip of drink.
They just signed a deal, sealed a deal with the Sci-Fi Channel to create a 2-hour creature feature that Kim will be writing and producing.
Sweet! Congrats!
Yeah,
wow, to Kim. Woohoo!
Yeah, that's awesome. So I wanted to share that. I also had an announcement. I got an email from Sue over at the Conqueror's Library, and I think the other name, the name of the other site that they do is the Xena Library. She had sent an email, and I can't find it now, saying that people have been wondering why there hasn't been a lot of activity over at the Conqueror's Library, and that's because she and Rio are working so hard on the Xena Library, the one where they're trying to get a link of every Xena fan fiction, regardless of genre or classification. So they wanted to make sure that everybody knew about that. The last announcement I had has to do with a book that I reviewed over at Lesfic Reviews last week, I think it was, called She Slipped and Fell. And while the book, I didn't really care for it as much as I could have, the thing that was good about it, that was interesting about it, is that it was written by a black woman geared toward black lesbians. And in all honesty, it's just not something that we see every day. So I wanted to make sure that some attention was brought to that. The writer, her name is Shonda. And the first half of the book I really enjoyed. It focused on the two main characters from high school through college. But once they graduated from college, it really took a dive for me. It didn't seem well researched at all. And the plot just became too unbelievable for me. But somebody commented on the review today and left a website for... that I wanted to share for, the website is called Sisters on the Shelf, SISTAHS, and I'll put that on, I'm going to put a link to it on the Cocktail Hour website under authors or booksellers or whatever it's called. But I wanted to make an announcement about that because I don't think that there's enough exposure for non-white lesbians out there. So there's my announcements.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of reading books, when I was happy that Colette's newest offering, Parties in Congress, came out just recently in ebook format, and I picked it up. I don't remember which night of the week it was, Wednesday night, Thursday night, whatever.
I think it was Thursday.
Might have been. I had it finished within a day. And she actually has one of her main characters is a Native American, which is nice because, people of color you don't get to see very often in stories. So it was definitely worth a read, and it had me laughing out loud a few times. It's still, she can't top Seduction for me. She just can't top it.
Well, we'll talk about it in more depth on a future show. We don't want to
sure
give too much
will.
away. And I haven't read it yet. I haven't bought it yet. So I was actually gonna buy a bunch of books today. I had a list, got a sticky, I think with 7 different books on it, and I went to Bella because that's where I got my list from one of their announcements, and 1, 2, 3, 4 of the books on my list of 6 are not available in ebook, and that's what I thought I was looking at. So I was a little ticked, and I just put my list away and decided I would read the other books I already have.
Oh, well, you gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah, I tell you, I think you've converted me into being an ebook snob now. I can barely read a paperback, and I have 6 to read, 2 down, 4 to go. But but still, it's like, dang.
It's just so convenient, and once you start, it's really difficult to go back. I converted a woman at work to ebooks also. She bought herself a Kindle, and she was telling me she would give me shit too. You don't want to read regular books, and she tried to read a regular book and kept touching the side of the freaking book to make the pages turn.
Well, I'm not totally giving up on the paperbacks. But you're right. It's much more convenient on an e-reader. You can, do the little bookmark, and I've never been one to turn a corner of a page. That's just sacrilegious to me. But it's just easier. You can bookmark it, and close the program down, go on to something else, and then come back and pick up right where you left off. And what's really cool about the Apple products is if I download the book to my iPad and then download it to my iPhone. If I, say for instance, I'm not in a place where I can pull the iPad out, like say a meeting, I'm just boring as hell and I don't want to pull the iPad out and look really conspicuous, I can sneak and look at the phone and continue reading. And you can, when you pull it up, you sign into your iTunes account, and it will actually load that book up to where your last bookmark was.
Now, does that only work on books that you purchase through them, or will that work on things that you load onto it?
I don't think it matters. I don't remember seeing any difference. As long as both books are logged in to your iPad and your iPhone, I don't think it matters.
Because Kindle, you can do that with Kindle also, but only with books that you purchased from Amazon.
Oh.
Yeah, because I have... I've stopped using iBooks as my primary reading program.
Really?
I read a couple on Kindle, but I've been using Stanza solidly, and I'm really liking it. It has so many different features as far as layout and background and font and colors and so many different things that you can do. And because it tells me the percentage through the whatever story I'm reading,
Yeah.
I can very easily go back and forth, because I do that too. I mean, I read on my phone during the day while I'm at work.
Yeah, so do I, actually. But Stanza, I use that primarily if I'm going to grab something like off of PDA Fiction, because I got a wild hair at my ass and I'm at work, and I grab it off of the phone. I can read it through Stanza. So that's generally how I use that program.
Well, just remember, readers, you have lots of different options, and if you don't have a reader or an electronic device that you can use as a reader, and you want to get into ebooks, you can always use Calibre or Adobe digital editions. There are lots of different things that you can use on your home computer also. So you don't have to miss out on a lot of the great stuff that's out there that's only available in an electronic format.
Yep, that's true. Very true.
Yes.
And speaking of electronic format, that's how I was able to read, or how I read the books that we're going to talk, or at least the first or second book we're going to talk about in Kim Harrison's Hollow series. Mm-hmm. I actually, when I was out sick, I went and purchased. I didn't know it was a series, and I think what happened was I went on to my iTunes account and looked to see what they had out there, and I just did a general search and read the summary of this book, and I thought, oh, this is really cool. But it didn't say it was a series, so I purchased the second one and started reading that. And fortunately, the way Kim Harrison, actually, it's like a double-edged sword. I mean, if you've started her series from book one and continue through, she actually, when she writes, she provides like a quick mini summary of what happened in the book before, and so I didn't really need to read the first book. I wasn't lost when I started the second one, but it became pretty apparent when I started reading the second one that, oops, this isn't the first book. But
yeah, I was really happy that she did that, because I read the first book like 2 years ago, mm-hmm. and I had planned on reading it over for this, but decided, you know what, after I spoke with you about it, and you said, no, I really didn't need to, I just dove in, and I really didn't remember. I mean, I remembered very few things about the first book, specifically. But she did. And throughout the book, throughout the second book, she gave enough detail that I didn't feel lost. The only time I really find that horrible is if I'm reading an entire series one after the other, like the series is already out, like what you did.
Yeah.
Then it becomes a bit redundant.
Well, that's why I said it was a double-edged sword, because once you are reading the series from the beginning, it's like, oh, yeah, okay, and you flip through, I don't know how many paragraphs or pages, because you know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, let's do a summary of essentially the basic premise of the series.
Take her away, because you do the summaries.
Okay, I'm going to do my best, because I've only read the first two books, but this way we won't give too much away. Mm-hmm. And I didn't write a summary down, so if I get off track, just reel me back in.
All right. It's hard when you drink vodka. It's hard to reel you back in.
I know, but I'm just sipping, and it's still early in the day.
Okay,
I don't want to get too blasted.
Okay.
So, the Hollows series focuses primarily around two characters, from what I can tell so far. You have Rachel Morgan, who is a white witch, and Ivy, last name starts with a T, Tamwood. Ivy Tamwood, who is a living vampire. And they both worked for let me take a step back. So the stories take place in a suburb of Cincinnati after what's called the Turn. There was a virus that spread through humanity, essentially, and pretty much almost wiped them all out. What they found after the Turn was that the humans had been living shoulder to shoulder with vampires, werewolves, trolls, pixies, fairies, all of these different this would be where I'd use the word preternatural, right?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, so they're living with all these preternatural beings, and essentially most of those folks lived in the hollows, and the humans stayed pretty much in Cincinnati. They're called Interlanders, the preternatural creatures or folks or whatever. They even have their own law enforcement agencies. You have the FIB, which are the humans, and then you have IS, Interlander Security or something or other. Ivy and Rachel both worked for the IS. And that's pretty much the gist of the whole first book, is Rachel leaving and them putting out a hit on her, because nobody gets to leave.
Yep. Once you're in the IS, mob. You're married. Yeah, that's it. You're done. You're toast.
Right. So, the books are about. The first book is about Rachel trying to get out of the IS, and there's the bad guy Trent, who by the time the second book ends, their relationship changes, and it's just really good. She's got good humor, good descriptive stuff, and a really interesting take on vampires and white witches and black witches and how humans all fit into this, and let's just go from there.
Okay. That was a good summary without giving too much away. When I really like Kim Harrison's work, and she was an unknown until very recently. And I like how she has a bunch of different preternatural beings. Unlike Laurel K. Hamilton, who I also enjoy, she does a lot of different beings, but it's kind of primarily, from what I remember, like werewolves, were-rats, were-geese, and vampires. But Kim makes a nice departure because she does bring in fairies and pixies and elves and white witches and black witches and demons, and you're like, wow, this is great. It's like Buffy on steroids. It's
You're
like
absolutely right.
Uber Buffy.
It is, and I hadn't made that connection, but it's not enough to where it would be like a ripoff or anything, but the humor and the way the different the different types of folks relate to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're a lot of fun to read. They're not, they're not real deep. They don't take days and days because the material is so dense. I mean, it's just, it's in some ways you could say it's almost like a lighthearted read, regardless of the type of characters they are. But I gotta say, Rachel Morgan, sometimes you just want to smack her because she makes some of the most horrible choices ever. And, sometimes she gets away unscathed, but more times or not, she opens up another Pandora's box. And sometimes you get really frustrated with that main character.
Mm-hmm. I know I did a lot. The things the bad decisions that she made really hurt the other characters.
Yes. Yes.
I do want to talk about, there was one part in the second book where they walked into a restaurant, into Piscary's restaurant, mm-hmm. and they were throwing a death day party.
Yeah, she does have some really good humor in those stories. Mm-hmm. I think it probably would be helpful for the listening audience to know that the second book and subsequent books thereafter, Rachel's trying to make a living being a private detective. Mm-hmm. So it kind of, we didn't really touch on that in the summary because, the first book was how she got away from the IS. But, she does everything but make money for herself in the subsequent books. So It's interesting because Ivy is her partner and a pixie named Jinx is her partner. So all three of them run.
Jinx is awesome.
I love Jinx.
And, you get to Jinx in the first book was probably the best part, him and his kids. And
Mm-hmm.
I was really glad to see that that they had a nice part in the second one. Jinx is awesome. He's this little pixie, and she continually describes his poses as Peter Pan.
Oh, yeah, I love that. It does get a little monotonous, though, because she uses it at least 3 times
at least
each time in the book, yeah. But he's really quite the character. He has something like, 55 kids, and they only have like a 20-year lifespan, which is kind of sad, because, you just want Jinx to be around for years and years and years and years.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he's quite the little character. I like some of some of his little one-liners and how he relates to how they have this interdependency, him and Rachel. It's really cute. And also Kim's book titles are kind of interesting. They're a little tongue-in-cheek. They remind me of those spaghetti westerns.
Exactly. They absolutely do.
Because you hear some of the titles. You have Every Which Way But Dead, which makes you think of Clint Eastwood.
Right.
A Fistful of Charms.
Which is also a Clint Eastwood movie.
Yeah, and here's another one. For a Few Demons More.
Yep, The Good, the Bad, and the Undead.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Outlaw Demon Whales.
They're all freaking
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood movies.
It's true. Oh God. But yeah, she's got a great sense of humor.
I think I was talking to a mutual friend and told her that we were going to be talking about The Hollows on the show, and her first response was, well, those aren't lesbian books. And they're not. You're absolutely right. But there's a lot of subtext in these books. There's a lot of sexual tension between Rachel and Ivy. And that was one of the things that kind of ticked me about Rachel throughout the second book is she recognizes, and other people recognize, this tension between them, but she really seems to go out of her way to ensure that we know that she is not sexually attracted to Ivy, that there's because of her demon scar or whatever, she's there's a need or a hunger, but it's not sexual. Yeah. But even then, she starts to question that toward the end.
Oh well, wait till you get a few more books in.
I think it's just going to make me angry.
It will. The lines will blur, but you're not going to get. So far, you're not going to get that ultimate satisfaction.
Yeah, I guess that's what the fanfic is for.
Which I haven't read. I don't know. I don't know why, but I'm just not pushed in that direction. I don't know. I kind of like where Kim Harrison has maneuvered Rachel and Ivy so far in the series. Yes, it leaves you wanting. Yes, you're frustrated, but it makes sense in the context of how she's moved these characters along in their journeys together. So it makes perfect sense. And for me to just read some femme-slash, I think it'll detract, from the complexity of their relationship.
After I read the first book, I went and I read I think 2 short femme-slash stories for The Hollows, which took place only up until, I didn't want to read anything that would take place into future books because I didn't want to ruin that for myself. And they were the 2 that I read were very amateurish and kind of crappy, and I mean, we all know. I mean, it's not a secret. We all know that there's a lot of amateurish, crappy femme-slash out there in every fandom.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that was part of the reason why I didn't really look very hard. I looked at I Googled it a few times. I looked at several different sites, and nothing really. I mean, I sent you a couple of links of ones that may have sounded a little bit interesting, but still, it wasn't enough for either one of us to jump on. So we just decided to bag it, and we didn't do any. So I mean, if any of you listeners have read any and you thought it was great and you want us to read it, let us know, because I'm not averse to reading it. I just don't want to spend a lot of time when I've got a load of other good stuff waiting. You know what I mean? Yep,
here. I agree 100%. So how many books in are you? Just the first and the second?
Yeah, just the first and second. And, I made a note that when I read the end, where it's her and Trent driving away in her new car.
Mm-hmm.
I made a note at the end. I couldn't stop grinning. I mean, it made me smile, and I really wanted to know what happened next.
Well then you'll be spending some of your hard-earned cash getting some sequels.
No, see, we bought from iBooks when I found the series. Oh, and I just read that horrible. I know I'm gonna get shit for this, but I don't care. I just read. They weren't horrible, but whatever. The Twilight series. We bought the Twilight series.
Oh, please.
I don't even want to get into that.
Yes, I think we should, because
do you?
This is why I think we should. Because right. Because I know every teeny bopper, just about every teeny bopper in America thinks Twilight is, the shit.
It's not teeny boppers. Erin has a freaking life-size cutout. Okay, I bought it for her, but still, a life-size cutout in her freaking cubicle at work.
Okay, but
she mounts him regularly.
Oh my god! But the audience is clearly geared toward high schoolers or a little bit older. And yes, I agree. There's plenty of older women who are, I don't know, lovelorn or bored in their marriage or who the hell knows. But that they like this shit. Even my boss likes this stupid-ass series. And she's been exchanging books with one of the other people at work because they keep up with what's coming out. And I'm like, I don't get it. I mean, I watched the first 3 movies. And granted, the last one was better than the 2 that preceded it. But I'm just looking at it going,
Okay, well, in the book's defense, okay, I read all 4 of the books, and I went into it with a shitty attitude because anything that gets that much hype, I automatically don't like. So I went into it. I went into it with this is gonna suck, and I have to admit, the first book I enjoyed it. I liked the character of Bella, and the movies don't do it justice at all.
All right. Well, that's at least something.
Yeah, no, the movies don't do it justice. Bella's character was great. She's the epitome of clumsy, awkward, older teen, young adult woman, and she's strong, and I really enjoyed her character. Edward, and here's the thing about Edward for me. Talking about Buffy, Edward is Angel, who I hated because he was a big, whiny bitch.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's exactly how I feel about Edward. Edward is a big, whiny bitch.
Well, in the movies, he just stands around, poses, and trying to look, trying to look brooding and sexy. It's just not working.
And that's how he is in the book too. And the other thing about the book is the author's Mormon background just shone through so hard to me. The whole thing about Edward wouldn't have sex with Bella until they were married, and yada yada blah blah blah. And then the thing with Jacob being bound to their kid was creepy at best.
Wait. Edward being bound to whose kid?
No, I'm sorry, Jacob being bound to Edward and Bella's kid.
Wait, they had a kid?
Yeah.
Oh, this is from the books.
Book.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
So they have. Did they get married then?
Yeah, they get married. Bella becomes a vampire. Their kid is half vampire, half human. And Jacob, it turns out that Jacob was actually not bound to Bella like everybody thinks because he can't get away from her or whatever. It's her unborn kid that he had. Whatever. It's creepy. Fuck that. He is toting around a baby, and you know what? Enough. Really.
That's just scary.
Jesus. Okay, well, I'm almost halfway done with my drink now, so we should be having some fun here soon.
Yeah, no doubt. Holy crap. Well, I have no desire to read the books, and so I'll just live vicariously through others when they make comments about the books. I'll probably see, the next movie that comes out because, I pay for all these damn premium cable channels, so by God, whether I like it or not, I'm going to get all them, all I can out of paying that money every month. So, I have to keep up on what's going on. So.
I mean, I don't feel bad that I read them, but I definitely don't fall into the group of people that just thought they were great. I didn't think they were great. I thought they were mediocre at best. but that's just me. The hollows, much, much better. Again, it's an adult, not a young adult focus, which made it better.
Yeah.
The humor is great. And Twilight, I mean, there's no comparison. I love her humor. One of the things that I really liked that made me laugh about the second book is the detective. Humans don't eat tomato products.
Oh yeah, because that's what carried the virus in originally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and the Interlanders, they don't give a shit. They eat pizza, spaghetti, sauce, they enjoy
ketchup.
Right. And one of the human detectives had been over to Ivy and Rachel's house, which is also a church.
Mm-hmm.
And he stole their bottle of ketchup and then asked towards the end of the book if maybe she could get him something a little spicier, like maybe some barbecue sauce.
Yeah, Glenn, that's his name, the Glenn character.
Glenn.
Yeah.
But you know what? Talking about the way that she uses all of these different types of preternatural creatures. I feel bad calling them creatures. I don't want to call them creatures because they're like people.
Preternatural beings.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Except for the troll, which I thought that her description of how the troll moved. I don't know if you remember that when she and Trent were on the bridge talking toward the end of the second book, and the troll kind of melts. Not really melts, but goes. He's almost like water.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Just her entire vision, as far as my knowledge of what's out there, is just really original.
Yes, it is very original. But it's not original to put you off when you're reading it. Like, this is just so far out of, your thought process that, that it detracts. It's not like that, which makes it so much fun.
Yeah, everything that she's doing and writing about, even though some of it's pretty extraordinary, the way that she frames it, it's all almost possible.
Yep. It's pretty cool. Actually, you almost wish it was possible. It's just really awesome. Mm-hmm. Really. Yeah. And, I've never seen the concept of living vampires before. I thought that was ingenious.
Yeah. And Ivy asking, am I dead? I think he killed me. Am I dead? That was, you're absolutely right. I don't think I'd ever seen that before either.
Yeah, I haven't. And I just thought that was just totally awesome.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm glad that you found that.
Yeah, me
that
too.
You stumbled upon it.
Me too. So, listeners, get your asses over to somewhere and pick up some ebooks, wherever you want to get it. Get some ebooks. Get some Kim Harrison ebooks. You will not be disappointed.
You won't. It's great.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I think Rachel is my least favorite character.
Yeah, I would totally agree.
Next to her boyfriend Nick, who I don't care for.
What a pustule, sorry. Mm-hmm. What a pustule. Thank you.
He's a pissy pustule.
There you go, pissy pustule.
He's a pistule. See, you made up a word.
A pistule. So, I guess we're going to do a little, ad hoc review of Words Heard in Silence. Yeah. Because normally when we do these podcasts, we try to focus on at least two works. Sometimes they're by the same author, sometimes they're by different authors. More times than not, there's a lesfic novel and a fanfic piece of work. But we didn't come to an agreement much before the airing of this podcast, and both Rev and I had finished Words Heard in Silence about a week ago. So we thought, we could just profile that one. Why not?
Yeah, and I almost called you to tell you that we shouldn't do it because it's really difficult to find, but I did find a place where readers can get it. So I'll be sure to post that because it's the only place that I was able to find it, and that's over at Ostzip. You can pick it up in it's posted in chunks.
Chunks.
It is in Rocket Book format, so you'll need to download Caliber or some other program that will allow you to read that, and I'll make sure that we have the link to that in the show notes because it was published in a book which is out of print. I looked it up on Amazon. The cheapest copy I could find was $50.
Oh, wow!
And it is. There were some good parts about this book, but certainly not $50 worth.
Well, and I gotta say, I found out from another friend of mine who read the published version of this book and was whining and crying about the fact that there was no sex in the published version, whereas
I want to talk about that.
and in the online version, there's sex in it. So
and I read Taylor Rickard. There I go again. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's T. Novan's partner. Had one of the members of the forum really enjoyed this book, and she actually adopted the name. Takes the name of one of the main characters for her online life. Had posted a bunch of information on the forum about this story, and one of them was a link that Taylor Rickard had explained why the story had been pulled from the web and why the book had been pulled out of publication, because people were bitching and complaining because the book had taken out the sex scenes. I think she said that there were like 18 pages that were pulled. Let's do the summary, and then we can get into that.
Well, you do the summary. Go ahead.
Okay. So, Words Heard in Silence is a Civil War era Uber fiction. Xena Uber, very traditional Gabrielle Xena characters. The Gabrielle character is named Rebecca Gaines. She's a widow. She is, and this takes place in Virginia in the South. And her husband died as a Confederate in the war. The Xena character's name is Charlie Redmond, and she is a colonel in the Northern Army, in the Union Army. Her unit, which is huge, I think it's like a battalion or something, is looking for a place to winter, which I thought was odd, but we can talk about that later. So she's looking for a place to winter with her troops, and she wants to use the widow Gaines's property. She owns an old horse breeding ranch. As soon as Rebecca sees Charlie, she knows that there's something going on. She's very attracted to her. There's just something drawing her to the colonel.
The southern charm and good manners being one.
Right. Because Charlie is actually from Charlotte, South Carolina, or North Carolina.
I thought it was Charleston. No,
Charleston. Is it? No, it's Charlotte. It's Charlotte.
Her real name is Charlotte, but I thought, is she from Charlotte or from Charleston?
No, I think maybe she's from Charleston. It was the doctor, Dr. Walker, that was from Charlottesville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Continue on, please.
And her name is Charlotte also. So Rebecca invites the colonel in, notices that he's bleeding, because at this point, she thinks he's a man. Charlie takes off his coat. Rebecca starts cleaning the wound in her shoulder, in Charlie's shoulder, and sees her bindings and knows immediately what's going on. They strike a deal so that the soldiers don't try to take advantage of Rebecca, rape her, whatever. And Charlie, they agree that Charlie will stay essentially in the house, act as Rebecca's lover to deter the rest of the troops from trying to move in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The town itself is very upset about having these Union soldiers in their area. Charlie and his guys are working to begin the reconstruction and to start helping the community, which has just been devastated by the war.
Right, because this is toward the end of the war, and they're following Lincoln's directives, basically, that it's time to start rebuilding.
All right, let's just kick it off from there.
Okay, then. Excuse me. This the online version was mammoth. Huge. It was a very, very large story, and
huge.
And I've got to say that there are parts of it that could have been cut out for the sake of making the story move along at a much cleaner, neater clip. I don't think we needed to, read all about like a Sunday sermon and Bible verses, and there was definitely some parts about it that you're like, oh shit, and you start flipping pages because it's just a little too long and monotonous. But overall, I enjoyed the Charlie and Rebecca getting to know each other and falling in love essentially during a very tumultuous time. And there was plenty of angst with them and ancillary characters, and I really, really thought it was deliciously evil how T. Novan, who is the author of this work, how the minister's wife is pretty much the antagonist to a degree in this story. I mean, she's not a main character, she's a minor character that comes up quite a bit, but she's just mean-spirited, catty, and she's haughty. She's
a fucking bitch.
Yeah, she's like the anti-minister's wife character. She's just so nasty and mean.
Yeah, she was, and talking about how long it was, there were so many details that could have easily been left out, and I understand trying to build the characters and things like that, but so much of the actual book is not building those characters, but talking about day-to-day life, and so much of that I just wanted to skim over. And as far as the Bible stuff goes, you're absolutely right. I'm not a religious person, and for example, the wedding, to have an entire to have entire sections of the Bible or whatever redone in the story was too much, and it really took away from my enjoyment of the story.
Yeah. I have to agree. That's why I was flipping pages.
Yeah, I agree 100%. One thing that I was happy about when I first started reading it, it became, as soon as the Colonel and Rebecca meet, it's obvious that the Colonel is a woman, and you got the blue eyes, black hair, blah blah blah. You already know what's going to happen. And I was really happy that they got that out of the way immediately. That the Colonel was known to be a woman. It was exposed to us right away.
Yeah.
They just got that. They didn't try and drag that shit out for us to try and pretend that it wasn't really what it was.
Yep.
Got it out of the way right away.
Yep. And I liked how T. Novan kept referring to the Charlie character as he throughout the story, even though you knew it was a she. Because Charlie, although Charlie, has had to live 20 years in the world of the army and warfare, even though she took the male persona, it was nice because it kind of kept you grounded to what the identity was. Mm-hmm. It didn't flip once you knew that Charlie was a female, that it was a she.
Right, and she was very. That was one of the things that I liked a lot about this. She talks a lot about Charlie's transformation, right? When Charlie went from being Charlie to Charlotte, when Charlie got undressed at night and exposed herself to Rebecca as the woman, that she really was genuinely two genders. She really was a man, and that's all she knew how to be. And I thought that was the best part of this book, is is Charlie being able to see that she was lovable, because she had that damn voice in her head, which continually just shot her down and ridiculed her and made her second guess Rebecca's love for her at every turn.
Yep.
And let's talk about the removal of the sex, because I think I have strong feelings about that. One of the things that the scene that moved me the most is when Rebecca penetrated Charlie. That to me was the most moving part of the book, because it was something that Charlie, it was difficult for her to become that vulnerable, but she completely surrendered, and it wasn't so much a surrender, it was more of an embracing of her as a whole being.
Yep, you're right.
And for me to have, and again, I don't know if that part was removed, but if all the sex was, then it would have been, the book would have been so much less.
Yeah.
Because, you and I have talked a lot about sex in fiction, and this is probably one of the few pieces of work that I think that the sex was one of the most important parts of it. For both Rebecca and for Charlie, for the healing. And that's really what it was. It wasn't sex for sex. It was sex for love and for healing.
Yep. Yeah, but I say that. I've said that to you before. I mean, sex, unless it's erotica. Let's throw erotica out here for a minute. Just get rid of it. And anything else, though, just to throw a sex scene in to make a quota or to please a publisher or please an audience, but just sex for the sake of sex doesn't work for me. I mean, I enjoy a good sex scene, God knows. But just to have it out there, I mean, unless you're intentionally writing erotica, it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, you want the scenes to be genuine to what's happening and also to the characters. And you're right, in this case, with this story, it was a healing process. So it was essential, I think, so that so that they had... Boy, this damn cocktail's killing me. So that they were, I guess, bound together and fulfilled and... okay, I can't think of anything, but you know where I'm going with this.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I we can just, I think we can leave it at that. It was essential to their relationship and their growth, both as individuals and as a couple.
Right.
And it also had has a lot to do with how they related to each other after Charlie came back from the war.
Oh, yeah.
And how he related, he or she, I refer to him as he because that's how I see him during those things.
Yes.
How he related to his body, both as how his troops see him, as how the community sees him, but then again also as how Rebecca sees him. Rebecca there was a quote in kind of in the beginning where Rebecca says to Charlie, "You remind me of a classic Greek sculpture."
Mm-hmm.
And that comes back later after Charlie comes back from the war, saying, I'm not that anymore.
Right, because he was injured in a final battle, if you will.
Yeah, and there were a couple things there were a few things that I didn't care for. One of them was, we've already talked about, was the overuse of the detail and the mundane.
Yeah.
The other thing that kind of bothered me was their, particularly Rebecca's, accumulation of children.
Oh, yeah. Every time they turned around, they got a new kid.
Now, the ones that came from the woman that, the widow who had been raped, I understood that, even though they seemed kind of ghoulish by, planning it out for when she died, and I know that they kind of tried to make it so that it didn't appear that way.
Yeah.
But deep down, it still felt kind of ghoulish to me. But the one where Rebecca paid off the whore.
Oh yeah, that was like a. Okay, two things bother me about that. One is she was just so quick to do it, and the second is when Charlie went to the attorney and got the adoption papers for the widow. Mm-hmm. It was a whole legal thing, so they made sure that the child was taken care of. Well, it didn't occur to Rebecca after they talked about that segment that once the whore came over and wanted to ditch the kid, that she would try to get some kind of legal papers drawn up. I mean, hello. I
had the exact same thought.
I was like, oh, hell no. What are you thinking? That chick's going to come back and milk you for more money down the road.
Or say that you stole her kid or whatever.
Yeah, something, yeah.
Yeah, I call bullshit on that for
sure.
sure.
That's bullshit. Yeah, that was bullshit.
The rest of the story I thought was pretty good. If it had been, I think it could have lost at least a third.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And the same they had the same just explanations and descriptions over and over as far as the competition went. I can't tell you how many times they talked about how the winner of the competition would be the color bearer. Okay, I got it the first 3 times you said that. Really.
And quite frankly, I kind of got lost in the details because I don't know what a gymkhana is or whatever the hell they called it.
It's just some kind of competition. I had never heard that word before, but you know what? Honestly, who gives a shit about any of that? I didn't care about any of that.
I did admit to flipping through those pages.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I understood the conflicts between the 2 different units that had to merge together. I understood that. I understood the whacked out crazy rapist colonel or major who was in charge of one unit. And I mean, I understood camaraderie building.
Yeah.
Didn't need to have all of the rest of it.
True. And what are the damn odds that the widow who was pregnant from her rapist basically was in the camp? I mean,
right.
what are the odds? That they would. But yeah. Anyway, I know that's a spoiler, people, but still.
And there were other things that really just set my bullshit meter off, like Rebecca having tea with Mrs. Lincoln and General Grant come into General Lee, whoever the fuck these people, I don't know, just everybody who was famous, who was a leader of either the Confederate or the Union Army showed up in this, and they were all friends of Charlie.
Yeah.
I mean, I just... bullshit.
And you got to wonder why she it took so long to give her the Brigadier General title, since she knew all these really influential people, for fuck's sake.
Exactly. Yeah. There was a lot of it that just was too over the top. There was enough. There was enough going on with the story itself.
Yeah, but it was a fun story. And we didn't even talk about Charlie's madam friend up in Washington, D.C. I can't remember her name, but she wound up providing Charlie a phallus as a wedding gift.
Yeah, Lizzie.
Lizzie, that's it. And, I knew your ears had to perk up when you first read that about, what, phallus? What?
I did.
We're going to have a phallus scene?
I loved it when Charlie strapped it on their wedding night, and it was wonderful, and I liked it a lot. But even more than that, I'm telling you, the scene that moved me the most was when Rebecca took Charlie.
Yeah.
It was just something that I didn't expect at all, and it really showed. And when the doctor. Charlie's friend, the doctor, another Elizabeth, Walker, right? Walker?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
When she, because there's only a handful of people that know that Charlie's actually a woman. When Elizabeth took Rebecca to the side and said, do you really love him? And Rebecca says, yeah, I love him. And she said, what about the woman in Charlie? And Rebecca said, I love all of him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, that her by her, penetrating Charlie, having sex with Charlie in that fashion, which is something that no one had ever done, and she knew that. I don't know. It just kind of it was an emotional scene, and not to mention really fucking hot.
Yeah, it was. So I keep hearing that song in my head, "Sexual Healing." I can't now. I can't get it out of my head now. Damn it!
Maybe you should put a clip of that in here for the end credits.
Wouldn't I love to do that? Now it's all that copyright material crap. But yeah, I could sing it, but then dogs would howl everywhere when people were playing the show back.
I need another drink for that.
Oh lordy, that ain't right. You are just not right. So, bottom line is, the story, for all of its faults, was still a fun read. It was long. It was mostly enjoyable, and if you can get it and read it, I highly recommend that you do.
Absolutely. It's easy to sit here and pick out the things that stuck out to us that didn't quite fit or that could have been changed. But, you're absolutely right. It's still very much worth the read. It was a great historical piece, and it was great. And the little girl, Sarah, I don't know, what the hell was her little name? The little 2-year-old?
Oh, yeah, you would ask. I don't recall.
It's Sarah Jane. I don't know. No, that was somebody else. I don't know. But anyway, the little girl referred to Charlie as Papa, and she was great.
She was cute. Yeah, she was really cute.
It was just a good story, and when Charlie comes back from the war, I thought that was well done.
Yeah, I did too. Although in some respects, I got really frustrated, but I'm sure that was what the other characters around Charlie were feeling as well. So, and that's credit to the author's ability. That you got as frustrated as everybody else.
Absolutely. So yeah, I agree with Andy. If you get a chance to read it, do. As far as the Kim Harrison stuff, if you like some humorous kind of thriller type stuff with supernatural beings in it, check it out. They're very good, and you can get them pretty cheap because they're older to start with, and your library will have them for sure.
There you go.
All right then.
Oh, that was a good show, I think.
I think so, and I'm not even blasted. Although the bottom of my glass looks like
the bottom of the toilet.
Kind of, yeah. But you know what? It's this. Okay, this is my new favorite. Not something I could drink all the time, but it was certainly enjoyable. It lasted the entire show.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and you're still cognizant and cogent, and it works.
Yeah, very good. Good suggestion. That was fantastic.
Yay.
Oh, I can't wait till my bar is done and I can start slinging drinks.
Yay! Okay, Rev. So we have come to a consensus. What are we going to review on the next podcast?
Okay, so next podcast, which is episode 12, because I can't seem to remember what the hell I'm talking about.
Oh, Lordy. Oh, Lordy. What?
Okay, it's the vodka, right?
Yes, it is. It's the vodka. Completely on the vodka. Yep.
The vodka makes me forgetful.
Yeah. No, that's the gin.
No, the gin makes me happy.
Oh, all right. Well, shit. I still say we gotta have more gin drinks. Go ahead.
All right then. So for episode 12, we're going to talk about the debut novel for Rebecca S. Buck called Truths, which is set in England and goes back and forth between, I don't know if it goes back and forth, but it covers a storyline in 1808 and then a storyline that kind of connects it in 2008. And we are also going to talk about Raven's Mask, the follow-up of Winter Pennington's series.
Woo, woo, woo. And maybe, if we're a little bit lucky, we'll have Winter on as a guest.
That would be really cool. So we'll need to make sure that she knows that we're going to talk about Truths also.
Yes.
So she can join the conversation about that. I think Truths is also a Bold Strokes book. It is.
Oh, wow.
So, I understand that, she's not going to be able to say anything bad if she doesn't agree with it. Andy's on a business trip for the next few days, so when she gets back, because she's the social one of us, she'll reach out to Winter and see if she can't twist an arm.
Convince.
Convince her to join us for a little while in a couple of weeks.
That would be fun, I think.
I do too. She seems like a pretty cool chick.
Yeah, she does. All right. Well, thank you for the great show. I'm looking forward to our next podcast.
I am too. So it's your job now to come up with a really good drink, because this one's going to be hard to top.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Jesus, this is good.
Yeah, this is good. I got to get some more orange vodka, damn it. I need another one. Maybe the one I'll make next is like for mini-me, because there's like maybe a half an ounce left of orange vodka. Damn it.
Send Marcello to the store. I'm telling you, he drank it.
No, he didn't.
You better buy it.
He really, honestly, he didn't.
Oh,
I just didn't realize.
Then you get your ass to
I
the
know,
store.
right? Please. I'm not driving. I already had a drink. I try not to drive even when I drink a little bit.
That's good.
Yep.
That's good. Call a taxi.
Oh, please. For alcohol, I'll just wait until I get back.
Oh, there you go.
All right. So, well, I guess this is the end of our show again. And I'm kind of sad because it's just been so much fun. So, thank you, Rev. And we will talk to you folks in 2 weeks.